All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, how's it going, man?
Good, man. We're live.
Good.
Good seeing you. How you been, Matt?
Doing well. Doing well. How about you?
I'm excellent, man.
Yeah.
Couldn't be better, honestly. I've had a busy week. I'm looking forward to the 4th.
Yeah,
It's going to be killer.
America.
Got any big plans for the 4th?
May go up north, kind of last minute. We'll see. Weather's looking good though here in Michigan.
Yeah. So we're in Michigan, everybody. Heads up. Where you go up north?
Crystal Lake, so Beulah, about 30 minutes west of Traverse. So
That's where your brewery is.
yeah, yep, south end of Crystal Lake. Frankfurt's at the north end of the lake. Everybody heads up north. Everybody's up north is different though. People say up north, they can mean any number of things. So I think that's up north to me, Traverse City area.
Well, you know, I was raised in Traverse City, right?
Yeah. Oh,
you
yeah.
know that?
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, it's a very interesting place up there for sure.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, it was very small, but it was really transient.
Yeah.
You know, there were a lot of people coming in the summer and then would leave. I mean, it's still like that, but you still see like people are really up there.
It's got its like own year-round economy now, where it really was more like vacation town / small local community.
Yeah, it's definitely a subset of our country.
Yeah.
You know, you see a lot of the doctors, lawyers, finance, healthcare, and then you see kind of the working class, and then not much in between, really.
Yeah.
You see builders, and then you see guys like you.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it.
The upper echelons of society.
I don't know about that.
So Matt, this is Matt Demarest, everyone. He is the founder of Five Shores Brewing in Beulah, Michigan.
Yeah. Five Shores opened 6 weeks before the pandemic hit, so timing wise, not the best time to open. Kind of a little bit crazy. First weekend open, hundreds and hundreds of people through, and then 6 weeks later, kind of telling 30 people, "Hey, sorry, there's no job right now." It was just definitely crazy first couple of years, but we made it through. We're doing well. Summer's obviously like our boom season. Especially we're not getting the snow we normally did up there in the winter. Ski hills aren't quite as busy, so we're right near Crystal Mountain, nice ski area. So in the winter, a lot of our business comes from people up there skiing, snowmobiling, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time at Crystal Mountain. It's a nice place. We still mountain biking up there too. They have really good jump park and a lot of trails back there for extreme mountain biking, I guess you'd say.
Extreme.
So we've had a lot of injuries up there, to say the least. My son went to the hospital from Crystal Lake. He went off a huge jump, went over his handlebars, boom, got a 3rd-degree burn on his leg from his back tire.
No way. Just because it was spinning when it hit him?
Groin. It like rubbed in. I mean, it was the worst.
Yeah.
So he stood up and was like, boom, like dizzy, and then he fell down and passed out and was it was a bad injury.
Wow.
So we had to get him to the hospital, and he had all kinds of injuries from that. And, that's never good on your vacation up north, right?
No, that's kind of a buzzkill for vacation for sure.
Comes with the territory. Extreme sports. We're an extreme family. When you say,
I dropped my cigar, man.
You dropped it?
Yeah, it's on the ground. We got to light these up before I break it.
Dude, that's reckless, bro. Mom.
Got it.
So, guys, we do have some cigars. We're going to get into a lot of cool topics today, including cigars to start off, Matt's life and business, sales and business, how you guys are running your business. We're going to talk about the world, what's going on. But first, we a lot of times like to talk about what we're smoking here. Apologies if there's background noise. We are streaming live from Smokies in Bloomfield Hills.
Great spot.
That's Square Lake in Woodward. If you know the area, you've heard of the Woodward Dream Cruise, maybe. So this is on the north corridor of Woodward in Bloomfield Hills. So Smokies is a great place. We broadcast from this place every week, and they have an amazing humidor. We've done a tour of it on past broadcasts, but they have the top-notch cigars at really good prices. And today we are smoking a Davidoff brand cigar called Back to Back. This is probably like a 30-40 minute cigar.
Cool wrapper too on the end.
Full flavor, just like I like them. I'm not huge. Maybe sometimes in the morning I'll smoke a lighter cigar.
Yeah.
But as evening and afternoon rolls around, especially coming up in the holiday here,
Yeah.
I like a darker cigar.
Yeah.
You need something to choke on, right?
You smoked these before?
I've never smoked them. Paul recommended them today.
All right,
Paul
cool.
Lissa, the owner of Smokies. And so we're going to do our ceremonial lighting and smoking.
They're going after like a younger demographic here. We got some cool font, everything.
Check this out. And this is a Davidoff brand cigar. It's called Back to Back, and they're really good prices too. So it's a great cigar for younger gentlemen, but older gentlemen alike, like Matt. No, I'm kidding. I might have 10 years on you actually. So we're gonna do the ceremonial lighting and talk a little more about cigars here. Today I'm using a V cut. I think Matt's got a straight cut over there. I'm doing the
straight cut. Depending on where I'm smoking, if it's like golf course, I'll do a punch.
Oh yeah, I love that. So this always gets us kicked off of TikTok because we're streaming live from TikTok, and every time we do this, we get kicked off, and I get a 4-hour ban for
you get banned for 4 hours
for smoking cigars on TikTok, which I don't really care about too much. I only go for the memes, honey. Right?
Thanks, man. It smells nice so far.
Mm. Yeah. So this is the back-to-back by Davidoff.
I like
good
it.
cigar. So far, so good, man. It's always good to get a good light on your cigar, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of people use matches. I don't use matches. I use
Yeah.
But it's always a kind of a given at cigar lounges and bars to use matches, but I just don't use them.
Yeah, torch is nice.
A couple other cigars I did want to talk about today. So we have the Plasencia cigar here. This is the 149. And this is a good cigar, a good inexpensive cigar that if you're going to a wedding and you want to bring like a dozen of them for your buddies or, you know, the party, you know, it's a good one to hand out. Good high quality cigar to hand out that they can either smoke now or later. It's an great cigar. I smoke a lot of these, really good cigars. These Olmecs are really great as well. This is an Olmec original cigar, so it's the it's not by another brand. It's the Olmec branded cigar, so it's a really good cigar. I don't know if you can get it zoomed in there, but these are really good full flavored cigars. They have a pretty good variety of different, you know, light bodied, full flavored all the way through. I kind of go mid with these. They're kind of strong cigars, but it's a really good, probably hour and 20-minute cigar. Hang out with your friends, chill out on an afternoon. You had one of these guys?
Yeah,
they're
those are nice.
really good stuff. And then my two favorites, honestly, and I don't know about you, but Tabernacle, my favorite cigar. Foundation. You know, this is the Churchill. This is a 7-inch cigar. It's pretty big.
Yeah.
It smokes pretty fast though. It's still about an hour and 20 minutes cigar.
Yeah.
You know, depending on, you know, I smoke kind of fast.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't let it just burn because it's an event for me when I smoke. I don't always just have a cigar go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I go to Smokies and have a cigar. And I don't have all day to hang out with the cigar. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm typically there for an hour and a half, 2 hours at most. And these guys are going to be kind of my new, the back-to-back, going to be kind of my new go-to short 30, 40-minute cigar.
Yeah. Yeah, I like these so far. I think this is pretty full flavor too, you know? I mean,
yeah, I don't know too much about them, but I do know they're made by Davidoff, so how bad can they be, right?
yeah, Davidoff reaching out to a new market. Looks like with these. I like the branding. I think it's cool. It says Nicaragua on here. What's your favorite? What's your number one go-to cigar? Is it those?
Right here, Liga Privada by Drew Estates. And these guys are just like the best tasting, best burning most solid tasting, most reliable, cigar you can get. Period.
What do those run for cigar?
I think this one might be $16.95,
Okay.
and
So
something
it's like a mid,
it may be 20.
premium. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's like yeah, I'd say low premium.
Yeah.
They get up there pretty high, but they are top notch cigars.
Yeah.
You can't go better.
I find that a lot of times, first off, then good humidor is a huge thing, but the better the cigar, usually for me, it's like how it burns. I feel like cheap cigars, not all of them taste a ton different. To me, it's like the cheaper they get, the more they start to canoe and burn sideways. And this one's burning well so far. Burning nice.
Oh yeah, really solid burn for sure. And I didn't take a hit for like 2 minutes, and it's still lit. It's reliable.
Yeah, nice. So, how long have you been coming to Smokies?
I would say 3 years.
Yeah.
I used to be the kind of guy that I just go buy cigars and smoke them at home.
Yeah.
So I got a big fire pit and a pool and hang out back there and barbecue and smoke cigars.
Yeah.
And winter rolls around in Michigan. What are you going to do? Right? I can't go back. We do actually.
Yeah.
We go to the fire pit, in the winter and have cigars. But it gets old after a while. So I'd say, 3 years ago, I used to go to the Smokies in Royal Oak, Michigan. Royal Oak, Michigan, if you know Royal Oak. There is a Smokies. They are affiliated but two separate entities.
Okay.
So this is the good one.
Yeah.
And, I'm not on anyone's payroll.
Yeah. Well, I like the feel of this versus like a cigar bar where people are eating dinner and having drinks. Like this is more of a enjoy a cigar, get some work done. Just kind of quiet. You're not here for a show.
My audience here, Matt knows this is my second office. Like I'm here probably 2 days a week, working 4 to 6 hours. Emails, presentations, building out my business. I spend time here, doing administrative. So it's a really reliable place to hang out. In the winter, they do all the Lions games here, and it's a really tight knit crew here. It's a lot.
And there's a TrackMan too, which is cool.
Yeah,
the TrackMan setup's pretty sweet. So if you're a golfer.
There.
I haven't played on theirs before. Every time I come in here, I'm like, I need to sign up. But I played on the TrackMan. I think it's going to need to be a regular part of my winter because in Michigan our golf season's pretty short.
They have a deal going 4 cigars, 4 people in 1 hour for $100.
Yeah, that's a good deal. Yeah.
Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, that's a lot cheaper than some of the big chain ones that you try and go use too. Again, I think it's nice that you're not in a setting where a bunch of people are there. There's people around here, but it's like if you want to chat with somebody, you can chat with somebody. It's not unfriendly, but it's not like you're not getting hounded by a wait staff trying to get you out of a seat either.
Those places suck. I hate restaurants that have cigar bars. Like I won't name them. I shouldn't have named Smokies Royal Oak actually, but there's a few around here. I won't go to.
Yeah, the
cigars are way overpriced. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know kind of the industry really.
Yeah.
And they charge a ton for food. You can't. It's awkward going in there just having a cigar with a bunch of people eating all around you. It's not. This is just like kick back.
Yep. Love it.
So when are you going to start adding a cigar bar to Five Shores Brewing?
Oh man, a lot of different licensing around having a cigar bar, but we do have some space out back that's across the road. Maybe we could go over there and have a private cigar. Nothing charged, but no, I mean up north is a great place for cigars. I just loaded up on a bag because maybe up there this weekend, got to take some with me. They had a good deal in there too, like 40% off. Type in and got some Gurkhas out of there, some other
they do.
Some other decent cigars. Like I was sort of surprised to be able to get a $12 cigar for $8. So
oh my god, yeah, that's good.
I don't know of a up north cigar lounge. I mean, there's got to be one in Traverse City, but that might be.
I think it's Knowles in Traverse City. I think that's what it is. Knowles Cigar Lounge. I believe that's what it is. Right on Front Street.
Okay.
It's like the west side of Front Street, across from Pisano's.
Yeah.
You know where that is?
Yep.
And so, I wanted to bring Matt on today because he's got a pretty interesting life and story. He owns a brewery up in northern Michigan, which is really cool. And I'm very interested in a lot of that, and how that came about. And then I want to hear the story of really, you opening it right before COVID and how you survived through that time and how you came out better on the other side.
Yeah.
And then I also want to learn about home sure lending as well and see
Yeah.
how you're building that business and some of your sales strategies, business strategies. But what do you want to talk about? I know that the debates just happened. I know you're
huge political guy. Huge. What I love more than anything is everybody having to believe what I believe. That's what I tell people what to think. That's my I just think it's a presidential debate where people are talking about their golf handicap and how far somebody can hit a golf ball is a reason that they.
Wow.
I can't remember. There's a show and I'm watching it right now, Mindhunter on Netflix, and it's talking about how to identify sociopaths, kind of like traits of sociopaths, and they make a few references to like having to be a sociopath to be a politician. They call Nixon a sociopath in it. I personally don't think anybody gets to that level of politics without like having some screws loose, and I think there's definitely some screws loose on whatever side you are. I'm gonna sit directly in the middle of the fence with anything, but.
Yeah, no, for me, like
good options, it doesn't seem like.
For me, it's just a shame, honestly. Like, I do a lot of business with executives, the C-suite, and I meet so many talented, smart, educated people that have revolutionary ideas about life. They got amazing past and life and story, and they've just evolved their life into huge things. And I meet people on a weekly basis that I'm like that guy could be a great president.
Yeah.
When I was watching that debate, man, I was like, I am embarrassed for us as a country.
Yeah.
People looking at us from around the world. These are the best we have to offer.
Yeah.
It blows my mind.
Yeah.
But the problem is that it's not the best we have to offer. And it's our political system that is broken more than anything. And it's pretty frustrating. And the whole idea of them funneling down, talking points that distract people and disrupt people and separate people and break up relationships. It's just dirty shit.
Yeah.
And it's mind-boggling that, it's come to this at this point. And I can't. That's a good example, the golf debate.
Yeah.
I'm like, is this real?
Yeah. What are we even talking about right now?
He's like, you can't even get a 6 handicap. Trump's like, he's lying. That's the biggest lie he told. He said. And Biden's like,
I mean, they've got Biden like Weekend at Bernie's style. Like, there's a crane operator, like Pinocchio puppet at this point. Like,
it's wild.
It just would be great if we had some option where we looked at it and said, hey, here's what could unite us. Here's what could actually, there's going to be disagreements on everything. There's always going to be disagreements. But there's a lot that we can agree on. And I think you make a lot more positive momentum forward from a place of agreement versus a place of you're stupid, you're stupid, you're stupid, you're stupid. I mean, it's like a third grade argument. Is that all it is? I think I was talking to somebody about politics the other day. It's turned into like a sports team to root for. It's not turned into like, I know this about this topic. I know about this. Like, the reason I don't get involved in debates about politics is nobody has, and myself included, I don't have a real firm grasp on any sort of policy that I can tell you, here's what I believe and why I believe it very strongly, because I don't pay it enough attention. And I consider myself pretty well educated, and I don't pay enough attention. I feel like not all of us stop paying attention. And then it's just turned into whoever soundbites the louder, that's who wins. And that's scary. I mean, I don't think there's any discourse anymore. I don't think there's any actual, like, we can disagree about something and still be buddies. There's none of that. There's like, you're an idiot, and that's
Yeah, I think a lot of times too, it comes down to core values also. Like, what are your values? That's kind of a lot of times what drives me in my life and family and my business. But I think like for one, like I'm anti-war.
Yeah.
I'm anti-killing people.
Yeah.
I'm against that.
Yeah.
If you're pushing policy that is killing people, I'm against that.
Yeah.
That's going to be a bad policy if you're looking for my vote, right?
Yeah.
There's stuff like that. But then I think the big conversation really centers around money. Where is my money going also?
Yeah.
That drives a lot of interest in voters.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Well, I mean, as a small business owner and somebody who's been self-employed for over 15 years, there are policies on one side or the other at times that really are going to have an impact, directly on me. But those are the policies that get talked about. And for the masses, it's more of like, whose team do I want to play on? Who do I want my figurehead to be? It's not necessarily about how this can impact me, because I just really don't think people know.
Yeah, and when you're a small business owner, like you said, it kind of drives you to the center more than anything.
Sure.
Because you get a little more of the fiscal responsibility. And, I don't really care. I'm all for civil liberties and civil rights. I think anyone should be able to do whatever they want with their body,
Yeah.
So I think I didn't mean to turn this into a big political conversation, but since I had you here,
Yeah.
But for the record, I'm anti-war.
Put that on the record.
Yeah, put that on the record. But,
I love war.
a lot, Matt's anti-war too. Don't get me wrong.
Anti-war.
I think, I try to stay away from this stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly. Like I don't watch much of the news, and I try to keep myself away from toxic media and environments that will draw me into a negative space.
Mm-hmm.
Mentally, physically, emotionally. It's not good for me. It's not good for my family. And if I'm watching and consuming a lot of news and media, it draws me into that negative space.
Yeah, I feel like the last election cycle, I watched more and paid more attention, especially leading up to it. I feel like I spent more time consuming that stuff, and I feel like I end up getting kind of sucked into caring about something where I know everybody's vote matters. I'm not saying don't vote. Your vote matters. But percentage-wise, my individual vote doesn't matter that much. I'm one of those, like, take care of your family, take care of what's in front of you. That's sort of my philosophy on it. The big picture is going to be the big picture. Take care of the small picture. That's the way I look at it. As far as war goes, like, what is it good for?
Right.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, there you go.
Say it again.
I think I saw that at the festival up in Traverse City in 1989 or something. There's a lot of outdoor music festivals up there in the summer. It's awesome. I love that, dude.
Yeah.
I love outdoor concerts in the summer. It's great.
I just got back from an outdoor concert down in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I wore my Michigan football national championship t-shirt.
Oh, my God.
In the horseshoe.
Surprised you didn't get beat up.
Yeah, I had a lot of comments. I can't believe that guy's wearing this shirt here. Type comments, like I'd hear people behind me saying that, but only one kind of drunk frat boy said something at the end, and I was just like, says it on the shirt.
What concert do you go to?
Zach Bryan country.
Ooh.
Yeah, my wife's more of a Zach Bryan gal than I am guy, but it was good. It was a good show. Puts on a great live show, and he was opened by Billy Strings, who's a Michigan-based bluegrass artist. So anybody who has listened to Billy Strings, that was why I wanted to go. He puts on a great show. Lansing area originally, and then spent like 5 years in Traverse City. It's all tying back to up north. 4th of July weekend.
Isn't that amazing? I'm a huge Billy Strings fan.
Yeah.
I love Billy Strings, man. Yeah. I've been following him for a long time, and he's just stayed so true to his art. It's just amazing.
Yeah. I just listened to Mark Maron's podcast. He was on there like a month and a half or 2 months ago.
Oh, really? I didn't know
real
that.
Long episode. Really cool. He talks about his whole life, like how he decided 7 years ago. He's like, he woke up with one of the worst hangovers. He's like, do I want to be hungover, or do I want to be famous? And like, not famous, but do I want to accomplish my music goals?
Right.
Do I want to be a
full-time
musician? Yeah, for like 7 years. He got a cool song with Willie Nelson called California Sober, which I don't know how I feel. It's an interesting idea, but cool guy. You know, seems to like really care about his craft. You know, like
Oh
put
my
a ton
God.
into
Yeah.
it.
He's as authentic as they come.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think.
and just incredible live. Like if you're not into bluegrass, you know, which some people aren't, I think it's like a divisive type music. It's sort of like beyond country in
Mhm.
in a lot of ways. But I tell everybody it's like Axl Rose and Willie Nelson had a baby when he's on stage. Like he puts on like a really solid rock concert.
That's great, man.
So, yeah.
That's really cool. How long did he play?
About an hour and a half. So it was one of those like
Oh.
festival, like
Oh,
you
okay.
know,
Yeah.
like bunch of different acts. So not like his full. He'll play for like 3 hours at his own show.
Oh, yeah. Probably longer than that.
Yeah.
I saw Metallica last year.
Nice. How
Oh
was
my
that?
God. That was one of the best concerts I've ever seen.
Yeah, I
I'm
knew a
not
lot
a
of people
huge-
that went.
Yeah. I'm not like a huge stadium concert goer.
Yeah,
You know, it doesn't really attract me, but I've always wanted to see Metallica, and I never got to see them in the 90s. And it was just, I couldn't believe how good. I mean, they are perfectionists. Those guys can just play perfect.
yeah, I knew a ton of people. Did you go to the Ford Field one in Detroit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Knew a lot of people. that
Two-night,
went.
two-nighter.
Yeah.
I only went to the first night, but it was unbelievable. They played all the classics. It's like a lot of stuff off Injustice for All. Just really good stuff, man.
You don't have the hair for it though. You know, you couldn't headbang at all. You couldn't.
I used to.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s. I used to. You know, I'm from northern Michigan, man. All the Heshers and
that's
stoners
northern
and
Michigan,
Heshers.
Yeah.
Yeah, ripped jeans, big Nikes or Adidas, you know, skin tight jeans. No, it was great, man. But yeah, so what's your plan with Five Shores Brewing?
Yeah, I mean, our goal has never been to go into distribution beer. I mean, we'll sell some beer to places outside, but it's an interesting business. You know, like a pint of beer costs something like 40 cents to make, so it doesn't cost very much to make. If you sell it over your own counter, even if it's, we have a few beers you can get under $5, you make really good money on that beer. But if you take that same amount of liquid and try and sell it into production, you're basically paying a distributor. You're hoping that they treat it well, that it gets put in the refrigerator, not on the shelf, that the quality is still good. And then I'll give you an example. Like a keg might have 150 beers in it. If we sell it on site, that's worth $750 of revenue. That same keg, a restaurant might want it for $150. So it's like a fifth of the margin to sell it.
Yeah, margins are slim with distribution, and
so that's why I think you see a lot of these like mid-sized breweries struggling and going under, is that they put a lot into production and trying to have kegs places. But you
know what that's
compete.
called?
What's that?
Ego.
Yeah.
It'd almost be better to open up more breweries.
Yeah, no, I think like restaurant locations that can drive people. Like we have food, our food is like mini press, flatbreads, kind of simple, easy to execute. Because in the summer we have so many people rolling in that you never know if 70 people are going to show up within a 5-minute period. So we have to have sort of a quick service production type food setup to be able to keep up with the demand. But yeah, the ego of it is cool. I mean, the first time I saw her like tap handle at a restaurant, that was cool. The first time I saw a beer can on a grocery store shelf, it was cool. But when you know that that's the same amount of revenue, for one beer that you're selling there versus a full 6-pack, and then the labor, and then it was just, we looked at it and said, if we ever want to get there, you need to go big, and you need a level of investment that we weren't really looking to do. I mean, we took a building that was empty for 40 years in Beulah, been sitting there and rehabbed it and put a lot in the community.
Can you give us a little historical perspective on that building? It's a really cool building.
Yeah. So Beulah is like a cool little village at the end of Crystal Lake. Interestingly, that village was created because this dude Archibald Jones had got brought in.
That's a great name.
Yeah, Archibald Jones. We have a beer named after him called Local Legends. So the local legend of Archibald Jones is he was supposed to connect the Betsy River, Crystal Lake, to Lake Michigan, and he basically had a dam that he built that failed, and he emptied half of Crystal Lake out into Lake Michigan. So if you ever go to the Crystal Lake area, if you look up on the bluffs, that's where the beach was before. Where Beulah was underwater. So that was under Crystal Lake until
when was that?
The 20s,
20s,
1910s, 1920s. So good old Archie Jones created a whole bunch of land, made a whole bunch of people with lakefront property now up on the hill overlooking the
His
lake.
biggest mistake turned into his biggest
mistake,
success.
His biggest success, right? So turning success
Wow.
into failure. So Beulah, really cute little village, and back in the 60s and 70s, it was like a pretty hopping little village, right? But it went through some rough times in the 80s and 90s, and this building was an Olds dealer, like in the 50s. Then it was a car repair shop. There was a barber shop. It's a Quonset roof building, so big round
Yeah.
roof building. And maybe 10 years ago, some people bought it and put a metal roof on, which kind of saved the structure of it. But it just sat empty. And when we saw it, we walked through it once and we're like, yeah, I liked it. My business partner, Oliver, shout out to Oliver Roberts, one of the best brewers in the country. He's won Great American Beer Fest, World Beer Cup medals.
Wow.
Like, he was the brewer at Wolverine
Good
State
guy to go
Brewing.
into business with.
Yeah, exactly. He's a brewer at Wolverine State Brewing for over 10 years in Ann Arbor, and had been through that kind of like mid-level, let's be on grocery store shelves, let's be regional. So we went through it, and I caught a vision for it when I first saw it. He wasn't 100% sure about it, and then a month later we ended up back there, and I love the building. So, but it needed everything. I mean, it was we gutted. We had
Wasn't it built to suit?
4
built to
50-yard dumpsters worth of stuff. Me and my kids and him and the crew were in there doing demolition ourselves.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You owned a wing restaurant in Ann Arbor.
I did. It's still there. It's still going.
It's still there.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that place was really awesome. I was an investor in a place called Side Biscuit. Which
Side
anybody
Biscuit.
who hasn't had a chance to go out there, really cool. Ended up that restaurant feeds the football team sometimes after games. A lot of athletes come over to the wing place, but it's on Packard, so not too far from
Nice.
Michigan Stadium. It's doing awesome. It's been
That's
voted
cool.
free press best wings in Michigan several times. So yeah, so the building we ended up deciding to go for it. Remodeled the whole thing. Opened up January 24th, 2020. I mean, numbers are important, but we did 6 figures of revenue our first month in business before the pandemic shut us down, which up north in northern Michigan is pretty unheard of to have a business that turns that kind of
Especially
volume
in Beulah.
in a month. In
People had to have
Michigan.
been coming from all over.
Yeah, and people still do. I mean,
When did you open?
we opened January 24th, 2020. So we had 5 or 6 weeks before the shutdown.
And so that from January 24th.
Yeah.
That's in the thick of winter.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Well,
Opening in the winter wasn't ideal, but we were like, it was one of those, you're working on something, you're hoping to open 4 months before, and then you're not ready, and then so we never really set like an official open date. I think that's one thing small businesses, restaurants and things do. They like set this target out there publicly. Like you're not going to hit your target. You're not going to get open in time, especially like a regulated thing like beer, where liquor license control, we have to wait for the state approval, we have to wait for this, that. But I will say the little village of Beulah, like it was great being in a village as far as building permits, construction permits, getting things done, getting things to move through. Like,
And
they
half
wanted
the
it.
residents are alcoholics. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Well, I don't know if you're anyone who's listening, Northern Michigan, that's what you do in the winter up north is
And the
drink.
summer. Yeah.
Oh yeah, in the summer too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
You might kick it up in the winter a little more.
I think the winter probably moves towards like the liquor side of things. But
okay.
one of the things we did that a lot of breweries don't do is we got our winemaker's license, a small winemaker license, small distiller's license, so that we can do wines, meads, cocktails, whiskey, vodka. We can do sort of everything. And we wanted to appeal to like a broader audience than just craft beer. Like our beer is the main draw. We're called Five Shores Brewing. We're not called Five Shores Winery, but what it allowed us to do is to partner with some other businesses up there to help them produce some of our liquids. So like Mobby, which makes sparkling wine in Sutton's Bay, they do a sparkling wine for us that we bottle. Mammoth Distilling helps distill with us for whiskey and for vodka. So we have products that we're able to partner with other businesses up there to sell, and really like got a great welcome to the community. Storm Cloud Brewing's at the north end of the lake in Frankfurt. They built a big production facility, so we actually bought their initial brewing equipment. So we bought their equipment that they started up with, got a great deal on it. So we I think we opened as lean as possible. We opened with as little money as possible. A lot of places go in and throw $5 million at a project they don't know is.
Did you guys get investors?
We got private investors, like people that friends and family type thing, people that we knew were
Okay.
craft beer aficionados who we knew, would get a kick out of being a part of it, that type of thing. But we didn't take any bank loans or anything like that to get it started.
Good way.
Yeah.
Good way to do it.
Yeah, and those people have stuck with us. I mean, that obviously it's not fun looking at a business that this is 100% about getting people to your counter, and then for a year and a half, you're not sure how many people you can get to your counter. So it was.
And you guys did $650,000 your first month in business.
Yeah, over 100.
100.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you said 650.
No, yeah, 6 figures.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's great though.
Yeah. Well, and when most of it's beer that doesn't, the beer doesn't cost us very much,
right,
to make. Beer is expensive, or drinks are expensive because of getting it there, because of the logistics of getting the keg from point A to point Z. It's not the ingredients. The ingredient cost is low. It's all logistics. And I didn't really want to be in the logistics business. Oliver and I both talked about it from the start. If we get to the point where it seems like it makes sense, that's almost a separate business, the production side of it.
Well, and plus that is such a mega saturated market. If you go into a liquor store or a beer store, I mean, it's like microbrews galore.
Yeah, it's overwhelming for a
you
consumer.
have to be a really good marketer to stand out in that space.
Yeah. I think it's the same way with cigars. I smoke cigars. I don't smoke daily, but I'm probably like a couple cigar a week. But I'm overwhelmed when I walk into a great humidor like this. Even I don't know what to. I know that there's gonna be some good ones, some bad ones. So
there's like Padron, Rocky Patel. There's Foundation, Drew Estates. There's different blends that you want to go to, but it's always good to get a professional that works there to help you out if they know what they're talking about.
I'll try. I like this. I would pick one of these up again, but I wouldn't have found it. I'd have gone to one of my go-tos. I would have been like, oh, okay, here's a Cohiba. Here's this, here's that. I would have grabbed something that I was familiar with, that I've smoked a bunch. So I think standing out on a store shelf is not something we wanted to try to do.
Right. Yeah. And like with the branding, like you said, that does stand out actually.
Yeah, it's cool.
I have a family member who's actually starting a cigar company.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I will get to watch this in real time as that plays out. We'll see. Yeah. I'll definitely keep you posted, but hopefully soon, if you're watching, brother, you'll get that going soon so we can start pitching your product on our podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
There we go.
If you need a taste tester, let me know.
Oh, I will. So yeah, we're going to New York next week. We're going to be visiting my brother. And hi, Terry, if you're watching. But so we're excited about that. That's going to be a cool addition to the whole cigar game and the Montgomery family. That's going to be awesome. But so take us through those initial months of going into COVID with the executive order to shut down, and how did you get through that first year, but then subsequent years after that?
Well, we had a lot of surplus beer and whiskey, so that was part of how we got through. I mean, honestly, it was such a tough time. I mean, when we first got the word that we weren't going to be able to be open, so our staff, we pay a living wage. I mean, our goal from the start was to not use the server sort of model where you can pay them $3 an hour and then they earn just money off the tips. It was to pay at least $12 an hour just from the business plus tips. So we wanted to make sure, for a few reasons. One, there's a lot of places to work up there. There's a lot of restaurants, but there's very few people for those jobs. So it's a merry-go-round of people going to service industry places. So the reason I tell you that is that first month, I think our people were averaging like $40 or $50 an hour in tips. So, a bartender who was doing a good job, their job really was not the difficult customer service. The job part of your job is easy. Pulling a handle, pouring a beer, the smiling, the interacting, the getting to know people. So, that first month gave people this vision of, wow, if I stick around here, like I could make $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year as a bartender here full time. And to be able to do that felt like an incredible accomplishment. It really did. It felt great that we were going to make money, but it felt great that I had 15 people on our team that Oliver and I had created this opportunity for. So those phone calls to them to let them know, hey, you're going on unemployment. There's no programs in place yet. We just can't be open tomorrow. So last week you made $60 an hour. This week it's zero. Those were tough phone calls to make.
Yeah.
Whether you're responsible for it or not, which we weren't, you still feel responsible as the leader of something for how it goes. So that was really difficult. I think the hard part through the entire kind of COVID process was now you can have 30 people, now you can have 70 people, now you can have 20 people, just the percentage, here's how many seats you can have in your spot, here's when you can be open. It's you bring 3 people back, you let 2 go. You bring 5 people back, you let 2 go. You bring 8 back, you let 4 go. It was really tough to staff.
It's hard to really build your reputation also with workers.
Yeah, exactly. And I have to really give my business partner, our manager at the time, they were the boots on the ground for all of that part of it. So I really have to give them credit for kind of maintaining a positive morale. I can't.
How did you do that?
One, by just being clear and honest with communication. Here's how it's going. We know we can bring you back this week. We know here's what's going to be. And when we are back, there's a door open for you. But I think just being swift to make decisions was important too. If you knew on Friday we were going to be able to be back open again, well, now you're going to the grocery store to restock the fridge to be able to do food. There was so much to it. Food distributors maybe couldn't get out to you in time for the reopening. So a lot of just making real-time decisions. That was the hard part of it. And we tried to do some of the beer delivery, deliver stuff, but there's just not the population density up there to just shift the delivery the way a lot of places downstate or more populated areas could do.
Yeah, and it's not like Beulah is a inner city urban mecca either. It's pretty out there.
We're far enough out of Traverse City that we get a lot of Traverse City locals who come to our spot because they want to escape the hustle and bustle of Traverse City. We're really super small town, beach town, America. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not like there's a million people within a mile of the door that.
Yeah,
we could go drop off growlers to make money.
Everyone's an Uber driver, or DoorDash is easily accessible. Probably
I think
too
there's
much
a cab.
up there.
I think there's one cab in the county.
Yeah,
there's the Benzie bus route. Where there's
They're delivering alcohol now, probably now. Yeah, and it's pretty interesting. And I don't know if you know this, but for about 10 years, every year, my family and I would go up to Beulah and get a Airbnb, and we would watch the fireworks, watch the parade. The parades up there are hilarious on 4th of July, by the way. It's Democrat, Republican, and everyone's getting along. It's like a big party. It's the best. There are a lot of political floats, but it lasts 5 minutes anyway, so pretty funny though.
There's a lot of I would call drifter types, who end up in that area. Cost of living's low. It's just a fun mix of people. You'll talk to somebody who is worth 8 figures, 10 figures, sitting next to somebody who makes $10 an hour at our bar, and they're getting along, having a beer together. It's a really interesting mix. Then you have the vacation crowd, or the people who have, a $20 million house in Lake Michigan, who are just there, who might take their plane or their helicopter in, versus the guy that's driving the 1970s Chevy still. But people seem to get along there.
Oh yeah.
Better. I honestly don't think we've had one fight we've had to break up. Bars and breweries are different things. The way we look at breweries is that they're a community center, almost, place people come to talk and have good discussions. They're not, we don't have trouble, which is good.
Yeah, and that's probably discussed in some licensing. They're also brewery versus a bar, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no limit on brewing license. So it's not like per county they can only have a certain amount of places that have a liquor license for a bar to serve alcohol. For a brewery, it's more about, are you following the rules to make the product? So as long as you're serving it over your own, you still have to follow all the rules and everything, but it's just a different atmosphere. Like we have a very low key atmosphere. It's a beach vibe at the brewery.
And then so you ramped up pretty heavily, made some good cash in the beginning, and then shut down.
Yeah.
And then how long did that last? That period where no one could come.
You know, the nobody could come was probably like the half. It wasn't half the year because the rules were a little more lax in northern Michigan than they were down here. But there were several months where we just weren't open at all. And then at some of the different spots where capacity wasn't high enough, it didn't make sense. Like the cost to reopen, the cost to restock the fridge was just higher than what we knew we'd make in a weekend. You know, you'd go and spend $2,000 on a food order when you know you're going to sell $1,000 worth of food to the people. There's times where it didn't seem worth it. So, but you know, we're business plan wise, we're actually ahead of our initial target. You know, for 5 years in, we're currently ahead of the target. The only thing that I sort of regret or think could have been better is every place has that new car smell when they're new. You know, that's like the cool new guy. And like we were in the Free Press as one of the top 10 new breweries in the state, and
nice.
You know, full color article, all this, but all of that sort of like evaporated because our first 2 years were really
like
turned into
phase.
Yeah, we're now, you know, we're not like the cool new guy after those 2 years where I feel like we lost that a little bit, like that fun side of it.
Yeah, it's really hard to keep that new vibrant vibe and energy as a company.
Yeah.
You know, it's really easy to kind of lose that and get like kind of washed up and then just become like your mundane, normal status quo brewery or whatever business, tech company, even, you know, whatever you're doing. It's really great when you're getting investors and really ramping up and really creating, you know, differentiation, and you're a disruptor in that space. And, you know, and then that honeymoon phase goes away. The employees get bored and they're not making as much money and they're not incentivized to keep the energy and vibe going. So it's always important to kind of evolve and kind of reinvent yourself consistently.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing to be different? You know, that's what I talk to a lot of companies about is what are you doing to be different today? Like you have differentiation in your product, your beer, the way you run a business, but what are you doing to be different and stand out in that space today, right?
Yeah.
Are you guys have any plans or initiatives around, you know, continued differentiation as you go forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main idea is just to continue to deliver a product that we're happy with, deliver a product that we think is exceptionally good. And I think that's with beer that what happens in the craft beer world a lot of times. One, you know, people go into a brewery and drink like my personal opinion was drink the lightest beer. If it's not good, I know that the other stuff is just like super hopped up and all you're tasting is the hops. But if the lightest beer tastes good, you know it's a good product. I think our goal has always been to create beer for the everyman. You know, we have some like you just drink Miller, you just drink Coors, you just drink Budweiser. Like we have craft beer that is going to appeal to your palate. We also have beer that's going to appeal to like the aficionado who wants
compete with Bell's or whatever.
Yeah, that's something that's super hoppy. You know, hazy IPAs were really big for a while. They're not as big, but like having products that we're really happy about, but also keeping that quality to a level. Because I think there's like the breweries where the beer's not very good, and then it keeps getting better, so people give it a pass. I think we started off with a really good product. I think maintaining a high level is the goal, because if you feel like if you come out swinging and you do a good job and then you disappoint people, you're not getting them back. Or if you start out kind of so and you build up, it's okay. But maintaining is, I think, the hardest thing, maintaining quality. So, you know, Untapped is this app that people rate beers on. Like we have one of the highest overall ratings for quality from just what consumer.
You guys use all local hops farms?
Yeah, there's actually like a lot of our malt comes from this maltster in Empire. So Empire is a little village, not too far, like 20 minutes away. She's the only female maltster in the state. I don't know if in the country, but she's basically like a craft maltster. So she grows her own grain. She has this 100-year-old mill to mill down the grain, and then has her own malt. is it a malter? I don't know what it is. I don't want to make up the wrong term, but she malts her own grain. And so that comes from like 10 minutes away. We have hops that come
That's
from 10
amazing.
minutes away. So we have a beer called All Five, which is an IPA. All 5 ingredients are from within 20 minutes of the
Oh, wow.
brewery. Yeah, like whether it's the yeast, the hops, the water, the grain. I mean, it's really cool to be able to do hyper local. And then a lot of our beers are just like fun. You know, they're we got some that are named after different lands, like one's Sleeping Bear Dunes. We got ones named after Sleeping Bear Dunes. We have ones that are designed for outdoors, like lower alcohol beer, so that you're not out on the boat all day and causing trouble. So try to keep it consistent with where we are is a big thing. We don't have a ton of like 15% alcohol stuff like a lot of breweries. Like we try to keep it a little more mellow.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Even though that's the kind of beer I used to drink, but no. So you guys are known for having a great energy and great employees. How do you keep that energy alive with the employees? Is that part of that problem where kind of things have gotten a little more mundane as time goes on? And is there a way that you've looked at an initiative maybe to kind of reinvigorate that energy with your employees? Are you still following that pay model? Have you pivoted in any way with your employees?
Yeah, the only pivots we've really made is including the kitchen more in tips, because like they really get blown up in a busy day, even maybe
That's
more
great.
so than the front of the house. So
I like that a lot.
Making sure that they get a portion of tips, because we don't do a table service model. We do a model where you order up at the counter, you have a buzzer, when your food's ready, you go pick it up, just to keep labor low. We can run the place with a handful of people as opposed to having to have 25 people standing around waiting to see if the table is going to come in. I think people like that because it's like you're on your toes more during the day. You're working, the day goes faster. But I think the big thing that Oliver tries to do up there is remind people, like, people are here on vacation. This is like what they spent the past 9 straight, 10 straight, 20 straight weeks at work to like be here today, and join in with them in that. Like, they're here to have fun, enjoy the day with them. But people are in a good mood. I mean, honestly, people are in a good mood when they sit down to the bar and like you hand them a cold beer and they're enjoying the fruits of their labor there. So it's not like a necessarily a hard place to keep energy high. We do live music on the weekends in the summer called Campfire Songs.
Didn't you say you're building the back out for a concert area?
We have a spot that like I would love to use it to put a small concert venue in.
Probably get some big names up there, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could probably get a couple thousand people there, a couple of thousand people back in the area there. So that's like one of the potential long-term visions for that. Yeah, we got a nice spot that we really haven't built anything on. We've been doing weddings, which is cool. People can rent the space out to do a wedding. So we had a couple last summer. So
that's great.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's good, man. And so now you're also the founder of Home Sure Lending.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So is that something you've done along the way, or is this something you've moved into? Can you tell us how you got into Home Sure Lending and what that business is all about? Does that relate with your brewery, or is it just part of your entrepreneurship? Is this funding your brewery, or what are you doing with Home Sure Lending? Tell us a little about that company.
So cigar wise, I think I'm the one letting this go out. I don't think this is fault of the.
Well, it means you're telling good stories, man.
Yeah,
you're talking
too much. That's what that means.
No, you're supposed to be. I'm the one that's not supposed to be talking.
That's what you got to do. You got to be the host, so you don't have to talk, right?
Yeah, I know.
So
all the pressure's on you.
I got into the mortgage business sort of on accident. 2000. I don't even know. 2012.
Oh,
2010.
So decade or whatever ago.
Yeah, a while ago. I've always been entrepreneurial. Like ever since I was a little kid, I was always trying to find ways to make money on the side. I did wedding videos when I was in college, so like I would charge like $3,000 and do videos. I minored in film, so I always enjoyed doing that. So I always had like a side hustle or side project when I was younger, and I never really 100% knew like what I wanted to be when I grew up. I still kind of don't know what I want to be.
I think that's very common for entrepreneurs, actually.
When I grow up, So mortgages sort of just happened because there's a big one in town, Rocket Mortgage. I'll say their name because they'll probably put an ad on the middle of this anyways.
Yeah, they're yeah. I'm looking for sponsorships.
Yeah, they'll probably put in. They'll probably, they pay for Google ads on my name all the time anyways. So
Spindrift.
Spindrift.
Spindrift, the sponsor of ISP Group's Sales and Cigars.
Yeah.
And we're getting paid by Liga, Drew Estates, Foundation, Olmec, Amplify Data today. So
So I really started in that business because I was like, I had worked for my dad's law firm for a while. I had a bunch of different jobs, but never anything that like I knew.
Your dad was in law?
My dad, still practicing law here in Metro Detroit. I never had anything I really knew I wanted to do. So I got a sales job and great sales training, like great training as far as phone sales, like how to convince somebody to do something they don't want to do. Right. As far as great as like it can be to convince somebody to buy something they have no interest in.
That's not our style of sales training.
Yeah. Great. But
ours
great
more have to do with building value for the customer.
So,
okay.
And that's the way I looked at it. So I was there for maybe 6 months, came in with 150 people. I was in the top few people. Yeah. Top few people in my training class. Most of their bankers go initially to doing refinances for people because they're less complicated. I got chosen with a group of people to go into purchase because they were at that time trying to build out their purchase business and was pretty darn successful, like right from the start of it, which is, I think, the first time in my career I ever looked at a paycheck and saw a bonus check with another zero on the end of it. You know, like getting a check for like $15,000 for a month of selling something. I was like, wow, this is half of the money that I made last year. You know, maybe a third of the money I made last year in one bonus check. But I couldn't like sleep at night, to be honest. They were in a team setting where like if everybody else didn't get their numbers hit, I had to stay an extra 2 hours while everybody else hit their numbers because we were on a team. Some of the things that it was taking a lot of time away from my kids. My kids were little and I wasn't at home as much as I wanted to be. And so
we're salesmen.
Yeah. So I looked at it and said, I've gained some insights, but one thing I know is I haven't learned anything about mortgages. I've learned how to read numbers off the screen to say you're going to save $147 a month. Here's how much lower your rate is. So I decided to go from there. I went to United Wholesale Mortgage for a short time. They sell mortgages through mortgage brokers. So their account executives help their mortgage broker to sell something.
All residential, correct?
All residential. So, you know, United Wholesale, I was an account executive for probably 15 accounts throughout the country. And I saw what these mortgage brokers were doing good, not doing good as far as like their marketing, their branding, their business strategies. And I saw some of them, to be honest, making really good money. And I thought, if they could do this, I can do it. So after 6 months there, I took the knowledge that I gained at Rocket. I took the knowledge that I gained at United Wholesale. And I opened my own mortgage brokerage and basically just walked out of work one day at lunchtime, told my boss, this is, 2 weeks for me. They said, we don't do 2 weeks. I was like, all right. So from January of that year until April, I was just working on getting my license and getting set up in business. And it worked out. I did close 70 loans the rest of that year, closed 160 the year after, and a couple hundred the year after that. And so my whole model, though, like you said, sales wise, like if I can beat the rate that you're being offered by somebody else, then go with me. If somebody else is $100 a month cheaper, I'm not going to tell you that I'm $100 times 12 times 30, better. I'm going to tell you the truth. That was what the whole business was built on. Consultative approach, meeting somebody's needs.
So is telling the truth in that industry, is telling the truth in that industry a differentiator?
I think in my experience, unfortunately, explaining the numbers in a way that isn't skewed seems to be a way that a lot of people get business. Explaining the costs in a way. I can look at estimates that somebody gets on a, mortgage for buying their house, and I can see if, let's say, rates are at 7 right now. I'm offering 7, somebody else is offering 7. Somebody else might have $6,000 more in fees, and people just simply don't know. So I don't know if it's like telling the truth. I think it's omitting what those fees are. I think it's skirting around it. I think it's taking advantage of ignorance more than intentional outright lies. I think it's lies by omission more than anything. And I see it a lot. I see often,
which is pretty dirty.
Yeah, and what I see a lot too is, let's say, and people shop. I encourage people to shop for their loan, right? Like call a couple places. I had one last week where they were getting offered 7.625%. I was at 7.125%, right? Like I didn't give them a deal. That was just like what my rack rate was. That was just out the door. I hand them the estimate. The next day they come back and say the other lender said they can do the 7.125. And my response to that is always, why did they think that they could take 0.5% out of your pocket every month for the next 30 years yesterday? Like what changed? What changed with them? And the answer is, honestly, they were trying to take advantage of the ignorance. And that consumer went with the other place because they matched the offer that I gave them, but those are the things that bother me in this business. It's like, I'm not going to give you a different deal because I don't know I have, because I'm trying to take advantage of the fact that I don't have to. And
yeah.
So that's, I think, honestly, like I see it every week.
It's a tough space, man.
Yeah.
Because we train some, we're typically, we're about 90% B2B, but we do train some B2C facing industries where we're working with a lot of objection handling, how to create differentiation in yourself and how to distribute leads appropriately within that environment with all of the agents and who's getting what, and then how to handle that from start to finish to closing and negotiations. And a lot of times where, the objections come down to numbers.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating space to be in, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so outside of just negotiating on the numbers, what are some ways that you've seen that you've been successful with to kind of differentiate yourself to stand out in, it's a very saturated space as well.
Yeah.
But you're used to that, saturation and differentiating yourself. What are some ways that you've seen with your sales and business acumen to be able to drive sales and create more value for the customers besides just negotiating on cost at the very 11th hour?
Yeah, I think the value really comes in knowledge. Like I've closed thousands of loans, so there's not many problems that I haven't run into or that I haven't seen. So as far as problem solving and actually getting the deal done is a huge thing. It's one thing to offer somebody good numbers. It's another thing to actually be able to get it to the closing table, right? And to be able to be sure when I hand somebody a pre-approval letter that we're actually going to close. And so I think the biggest thing that has led to the continued success of the business year over year has been just doing what I say I'm going to do. If I know I made a mistake and it costs the consumer $500, reimbursing $500, falling on the sword, being okay with making a mistake and admitting this one didn't go well. Here's how I'm going to solve it for you, and really remembering that person is hiring me to work for them during that time. I feel like a lot of people in service businesses and professional service businesses forget that that's their customer, and the customer is not always right. Like people have this saying, the customer is always right. I tell my sales staff when I've trained people, the customer is not always right, but they're always the customer, right? So like sometimes it doesn't matter who's right in the situation. It matters, how you treat that person. They come in not knowing what they don't know either, and so education is a huge part of it. Being able to walk somebody through the process, huge. Whether you have a type A personality who wants to know every single detail of how the process works and wants to know every single thing, or whether you have just somebody who wants to trust that you know every single thing, being able to read a personality and know, hey, how much do I need to fill them in here? Like you can kind of paralyze people with too much information if they're not the type that needs that information. So like having the consultative, I work for you. And I think I got a lot of that from my dad as an attorney. I look at my clients the same way. Like I'm offering a professional service. I'm not a headset salesperson. I'm not a phone salesperson. I'm your trusted mortgage person who you should look to me for advice from, and it's going to be sound advice.
And I can attest, he's not a phone person. He never gets back with me ever. And he always has his notifications silenced, by the way. Way to go, Matt. Yay. I'm totally bagging on you,
And
man.
I
So
make an excuse about not knowing how to change that, but I do. I know how to change the settings.
I
on
don't
my
know
phone.
how to email. How do
I
you
don't know
email?
how to do it. I don't know how to do it. No, I think it is a very
Ignorance.
saturated business. Obviously, I think it's grown more saturated. United Wholesale's done a huge benefit to the market of providing like a level playing field for brokers, because brokers can provide better deals, but they don't have to. So brokers can make up to 3% on a loan. I'm not trying to make 3% on a loan. Some are. So I still encourage people to shop, because there's no apples to apples. Like there's nobody that's trying to charge the exact same thing. So it's one of those where,
So go ahead.
oh yeah, it's one of those where consumers don't know what they don't know, and I think people are able to take advantage of what they don't.
And then a lot of people come to the table thinking they know a lot.
Yeah,
But they aren't thinking outside of what they might not know.
Yeah.
Right? That's a difficult space to be in when you get a kind of a know-it-all. That it's hard to kind of break through that shell of education and educating them and being an expert. And we talk a lot about that as leading with expertise. And that's that's part of that educational part is, people aren't really looking, for you to ask 1,000 questions. They're looking for you to lead with your expertise. It's a really important piece, not only in the consumer market, but in enterprise and strategic selling. They're looking for experts in their space. They're not looking for an expert sales trainer, because that's what we sell is sales training. They're looking for someone who knows their industry inside and out, and that can come in and augment their ability to sell in their space.
Yeah.
And a lot of times with my real estate customers, they talk a lot about how can we have an element of account management or customer management and loyalty. So how do you gap that bridge from a new customer for them to continue to stay loyal to you for future business?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, and it's a lot cheaper to retain customers than it is to acquire customers, right? So, but there's also, you never know if somebody's going to be transacting again in 6 months, a year, 10 years. In mortgages, it's like if you hit one of these trends where somebody's at 7.5, rates go to 6.5, they go to 5.5, they go to 4.5, you've got maybe 4 or 5 transactions in a year with somebody, and you build a really good relationship where, you may not talk to somebody again for 5 years. So it is one of those industries where trying to find a way to stay relevant to that person, and staying relevant to me is hard through an email marketing campaign. It's hard to stay relevant through picking up a phone call when they know you're just calling to like remind them who you are. Finding like a real reason to stay in front of somebody is a difficult thing, because I'm sure this. Like if you used a realtor 5 years ago and they call you today, like they're not calling because they like, oh, I just thought of Patrick.
I'm pretty loyal. I've used the same realtor. Like when something works, I typically stick with it.
Yeah.
When I'm seeing the value of it.
Yep.
And I think that they've done a good job with that.
Yeah.
And staying in touch.
Yeah.
And continuing to reach out and stay engaged. I consider that kind of customer management.
Yeah, I just think those touch points need to be
support.
genuine. They need to be genuine. And so when I'm trying to do that and maintain relationships, I look at it as more like I like building relationships with customers. I like learning their stories, getting to know people, making a connection. So when I'm calling them, there's a real reason behind it, as opposed to you're the name that came up in my CRM today.
Yeah.
Because I think that I know when I
follow up with you.
Yeah, well, I know
just
when
following
I get
up.
Just following up. How's everything going? How's everything been? How the kids? As opposed to, hey, I know we met through our mutual affinity for Michigan football. Did you going to any games this year? To like have something real to talk about. I think is a big thing. It's a relationship business.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I like, because I do real estate and mortgage, I have a more holistic view of the housing market. So letting people know, hey, it might not be the right time to refinance, but I took a look for you, gained $40,000 of equity in the past year and a half. Giving somebody some sort of information that is useful to them, as opposed to you're the one, the box I need to check this week.
Yeah, and when you're talking about loyalty, customer support, customer management, if you will,
Yeah.
a lot of times we kind of are talking about in training about continuing to lead with that expertise.
Yeah.
And so dissecting kind of what the challenges customers have throughout that journey of once they are a customer, and then what are the challenges they have up until the next point of contact. So looking at it in kind of phases and saying, okay, at this stage, a buyer in the first year will typically have these challenges.
Yeah.
Maybe it's based on, different taxes or billing or whatever it is. It typically is around numbers or some sort of, and so touching upon those things, we've seen this in the market and giving them an education on what's happening along their journey, and then asking them what challenges does this align with some of the challenges you might be looking at, and how can we solve this for you, right?
Yeah.
And then that just keeps those communications going. So the next time they're looking for a loan or to upsell or upgrade, that they come right back, to the expert, Matt Demarest, the expert in your space,
Yeah, and I think my transition into doing real estate as well as mortgages was really that neither of the businesses are that high barrier of entry. They're both an exam. There's not much that it takes to become a realtor. Is a $200 training class, $100 registration fee for a test, and a test that you have to get more than 75% on. So like, it's not one of these you have to spend 7 years in school to get into the business. And I think what you see is in a good market, you see thousands of people flooding into being a realtor. In a bad market, you see thousands flooding out. But you don't have a lot of people that actually have the level of expertise to make it a career and to make it. Like 47% of realtors in the U.S. didn't sell a single house last year.
Yeah.
We'll probably close in the first half of this year 35 or 40 transactions on the real estate side of the business. And for us, that's like it's what we think about every day. It's what we're doing every day. Are we setting the world on fire with our numbers? No, but we're in the top 3% nationally in transaction sales. Just volume wise, our property values are lower here in Michigan, so we're not doing California level numbers, but we know how to do the job. We're not just somebody's cousin or somebody's brother. I know a realtor. That's how a lot of this business ends up going to other people. It's like at that time that they're ready to transact, you haven't stayed top of mind, and somebody else walks in and says, I'll help you with that. And people are like, they go the easy route, which is, oh, this person's in front of me, I don't want to tell them no. So I think you're right. Like, how do you stay top of mind? And I think that's a big secret. I think for me, the majority of my business comes from past business that I've done well. I don't spend a ton of money on advertising. I've built a business. I've built a book of business where people know that they can trust me. And a lot of my clients don't know I do the real estate side as much because they initially interacted with me through the mortgage side. So when they come back for a pre-approval for that house upgrade, if they're not working with somebody, it's a pretty easy sell to say, hey, I'd love to help you find a house too. I know that area really well. That's 10 minutes from my house. Have anybody helping you? If they do have somebody helping them, I don't like to step on toes of people I've worked with in the past or whatever. So I don't hard sell that part of it. But it is a really interesting thing to be the realtor and lender on people's transactions because I know what we can get done. I know the pre-approval is solid. I know I can get the whole deal done in 20 days. So it gives us a strategic advantage over other offers where there's just less moving parts. There's a lender that you don't trust their pre-approval. There's a realtor you don't know. If I'm on the phone with that listing agent and I can confidently tell them we can get done in 20 days, we're more likely to get an offer accepted. We just had that yesterday with one in Redford. We offered a 19-day close. 19 on a mortgage was unheard of 10 years ago. But so I think just being able to differentiate and offer a variety of services as opposed to just one is a big thing, But again, I don't really know what I want to do when I grow up, like I mentioned before. I'm sort of I can get stuff off the ground. I've helped many people launch businesses, start businesses. I enjoy that part of it. I think consulting other people and starting things is probably like what I would really like to spend more of my time.
I have a suggestion what you can do.
Yeah.
disband the Mulch Madness that your dad started.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That is-
Yeah. The lacrosse fundraising mulch sale.
oh my, yeah, for lacrosse, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I spent an entire beautiful Saturday this year driving truckloads of mulch around. So tell your dad thanks.
Yeah. You probably generated $80 with 10 hours of your
Actually,
work.
my son did actually decent. It's a tough sell because they upcharge those bags of mulch so much.
Yeah.
I got a call from a friend who bought it. He got 2 yards. He's like, they shorted me on. I'm like, that's just the price, man. Sorry. Just consider it a charitable donation. We'll give you a slip to, run through your taxes. But it's a pain in the ass. So tell your dad thanks.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, that I just played in the lacrosse alumni game like 2 weeks ago. I still have a bruise.
Is it Seal?
Yeah. Still have a bruise that won't go away on my arm. I'm a little too old to be trying to play lacrosse against a bunch of 20-year-olds.
Come on. There's a bunch of older guys in here.
Yeah, there were some older guys. Yeah, there were some ones older than me, but not much.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. So I know you as a person, and from working with you, I know you are good at sales. And you're driven with a kind of a sense of empathy towards your customers. And not a lot of people have gone to school for sales, right? You don't find many people with sales degrees, right? And so it's not really it's not really a degree people are leaning into, and I want to be a sales guy when I grow up, right? And so as a kind of a self-taught salesman, right? Because you are a sales guy. There's nothing wrong with that, right? It's in my world, sales is not a dirty word.
Yeah.
Because we look at it as helping people solve challenges and problems that they're having with their business to really help them grow their revenue and their growth and meet their revenue and growth goals. So what are some characteristics that you have built in yourself over time besides empathy? And because you're a really empathetic person, you can put yourself in the shoes of the customer and really understand where they're coming from. What are some other characteristics that you see as a great salesperson that has helped you really grow and drive your business and meet your revenue and growth goals?
Yeah. I mean, when you're saying that, one of the things I won't sell a product or a service that I'm not passionate about, and I think that's part of the reason that I ended up doing it on my own way is I knew that I was giving somebody a good deal when I was the one creating the deal, when I was the one giving them the mortgage rates, because I knew I was controlling it. It wasn't enough money to buy half of downtown Detroit. That's not the type of revenue we were trying to generate off of each loan. If I have to believe in it, as far as the characteristics go, I think empathy is a big thing. Listening, trying to get an understanding of what somebody is really wanting and needing and how to serve that person best. I think listening and being an advocate for that person are some of the bigger things, and at least B2C sales. I think you're totally right. I'll never be good at selling something that I wouldn't buy myself. I would never be good at selling a product that I wouldn't consume. And so I think having something that I can be passionate about, that I can feel good about selling, is always key, is always number one for me. I think being systematic is a big weakness for me, as far as like step A to step B to step C, because my brain always goes step A to step C. Like I forget about all the steps in the middle. So I think some of the tools and things that I've had to work on training wise are just being systematic with the sales, because I am relational. I am empathetic. If I can have a conversation with you, I think we're going to end up working together. Right? But like the follow up of actually making that phone call happen, that takes time. It takes 5 calls to get somebody to answer the phone. Right. And I don't want to make 5 calls.
No sales guy on earth does.
I think just being systematic and knowing, at the same time, I don't work backwards from numbers the way a lot of sales people do. I don't look and say, well, I have to have 20 appointments to get 10 deals, to get 10 consults, to get 2 deals, to get this. I feel like I look at every opportunity that comes across my desk as like the most important thing I can do with my time in that moment, and I feel like the numbers follow. But I think being systematic is something that like I have to continue to work on daily. And I think you probably get that with a lot of sales.
Oh, you'd be surprised. I go into so many businesses and I say, what's your current sales process? And they look at me like a deer caught in headlights. What process?
Yeah.
And I'm blown away that they're, $200 million company.
Yeah.
And what that says to me is they should be a $400 million company.
Yeah.
Without a sales process and without consistency and discipline through that sales process throughout the organization, it's a failing system, right? Especially when, and it's not about KPIs or, micromanaging or anything like that, but we have to set our salespeople up for success, give them the best shot at success. Yeah. And so by giving them a formal process that works for their space, their market, their vertical, allows them the best chance at success and the highest close rate with the shortest sales cycle, the highest deal value. So that's what we're looking at when we're talking about process. And especially in B2C markets like real estate, dealerships, a mortgage, insurance. These are companies we train that have no formal sales process in place. Typically, organically, they just don't. And the companies that are really just crushing in those areas, they do. Yeah. And they're leveraging different types of professional development training programs that allow them to expand their sales channel.
Yeah.
So it's really important. And I see what you're talking about because, the last thing any sales guy wants to do is follow a rigid process. We're relationship people.
Yeah.
And my definition of a relationship salesperson has evolved so much over the years, especially, training into enterprise strategic space. Like a lot of those companies that are in that, Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies, they don't understand truly what relationship building means.
Yeah.
And, you talk about you need 5 touches to answer a call. Well, you need, 12 touch points of relationships in a strategic space to even be like considered for the project.
Yeah.
So it's about connecting people, and there's a lot of time and energy that goes into it, but that's what we do as people that want to help our customers.
Yeah.
As we are there as their advocate.
Yeah.
And that's a great word. I love, I'm your biggest advocate.
Yeah.
I say that a lot. I want to see you guys succeed. I want to see you win. I want to see you increase your revenue by 200, 300% or whatever the benchmark is. And, and then being like, I love how you talk about being passionate about your product.
Yeah.
I wrote a sales training module, like a one-shot thing called Be Passionate, You Motherfuckers, about a company that was they were really toxic environment, and a lot of people were really negative, and they were complaining about their product doesn't work, the competitor's better, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, they can't get support, they can't throughout. So it was a real negative environment of sales where they were having hard time because no one could be passionate about the project.
Yeah.
But in reality, no one's product works. Everyone's support is failing. And no one can, everything is broken on some level,
Yeah.
So your competitors are suffering with the exact same things you are. And if you go work for the company you think is the greatest in the world, you are going to have those same problems. It's a you problem, not a company or product problem. And you have to learn to be passionate about a product that doesn't fully work. Especially working in tech, you learn a lot of those nuances. Everything's always evolving and changing, and product development, this, that, and adding new products. And it's a real kind of fractured space, especially between the departments. So communication is key, critical.
Yeah.
And when they have these rigid silos between departments, and the communication is so fractured that no one can seem to get anything done.
Yeah.
And so the messaging breaks down over time. It's like telling the customer, going around the circle. By the time it gets to the customer, it's, the world is ending. You know, it's like one of those things. So when you can like really break down those silos and communicate between the departments and all be speaking the same language about product, about service, about support, about product, about IT, or whatever you're looking at, this creates kind of a machine, a soundboard for the same messaging.
Yeah.
And it's a cohesive kind of communication for your customers.
Yeah. I can see that even in the real estate mortgage business. You have title companies, you have a listing agent, you have a buyer's agent, you have an inspector, you have an appraiser, you have all these different silos of information. And I think one of the things that I've always tried to do differently, at least on the mortgage side too, is really quarterback the transaction, making sure everybody else is doing their job. And making an assumption that somebody's ordered title work, that somebody's actually ordered an appraisal, that somebody's done X, Y, or Z. Like, unfortunately, it's pretty common that most people aren't doing their job and aren't doing their part of the process. And so having somebody that does advocate for the entire process going smoothly. So I ended up with the mortgage business, essentially taking on a lot more of that communication, sending out emails with all the key deadlines, with everything to all of the parties involved, and sort of making sure that everybody got their job done, even though that wasn't my job. And some of the people who were organized probably stepping on their toes a little bit, but it's 2% of people that are organized. It's 98% of the rest of, the agents that you're working with on either side, that maybe this was the first transaction they've done in 3 months and they wouldn't have remembered that there's a homeowners association you have to reach out to, or there's X, Y, or Z that you have to do. Communication is a problem in every single industry, but I think you're totally right. Like that on that larger scale, selling a product through a huge organization, no product is perfect. But I'm going to be here to help make this as the best solution it possibly can be for your company and help you get over any hurdles. I would tell customers, I need you to do one thing, and it's to not worry. If there's anything to worry about, you're going to hear from me about it right away, and we're going to find a solution together. But if you're sitting there worried if your loan's going to get approved, right now I can tell you confidently it's going to. And if it's looking like for some reason it's not, you'll be the first person I talk to. So don't lose any sleep at night over this. This is going to be an easy process if we work together on it. So you might have heard horror stories about it going poorly with other places before. That wasn't with me, and here's how it's going to go. And
that's a good point.
The expectations, and just setting expectations. If people know what to expect, they're going to be a lot less anxious about it. They're going to have a lot less anxiety and fear over the negative possible outcomes. If you just say, hey, yeah, that is a possible outcome, but it's not a likely one. So let's worry about that if we need to. Here's what we need to get done today.
Yeah, I think trust is huge.
Yeah.
I'm a consumer in your space. I've never sold into your space. I've trained in your space. And as a consumer in your space, I can definitively say that when you're getting a loan, a mortgage, when you're buying a house, and you're putting a lot of money into something, it tends to feel like everyone's talking and you're not involved in the conversation.
Yeah.
Like whether it's the lender, the broker, the mortgage company, whoever it is, and the sellers, it feels like it's all kind of rigged against the buyer.
Yeah.
So trying to break that barrier and give them a level of trust and confidence in you as a seller is so critical. And I loved how you use the kind of quarterbacking analogy. It's so important to be the quarterback for someone that the customer can trust in and that leads the team well. And I relate that a lot to training, and I think, definitively the hardest, the person who trains the hardest on any football team is the quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, they have to know every single other position, what everybody else does. I'm going to see if there's another cigar over here while we're talking.
Yeah, I'm going to. We're going to have another cigar, people. What are you going to have?
Gurkha Heritage.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a great. I think I'm going to do the Liga. Drew Estate's my favorite. Yeah, and I played football, but I use the football analogy and quarterbacking analogy a lot because I think of Tom Brady.
Yeah.
He's probably trained harder than any football player in the history of football.
No, not the best athlete by far.
But the thing is like he's the best
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
Definitively
Yeah.
in any sport.
Like the intangibles.
It's like him and Jordan.
Yeah.
I don't think you could think of any other great or GOAT than him and Jordan, right? And they'll tell you what was the differentiator? The training.
Yeah.
And, I talk to companies that, we're not doing any training right now. Or, our guys they sell at this level. They don't need training. They already know how to sell. And do you know that Tom Brady is training harder now than he did when he actually played? He's like, and the idea that you need someone who's better than you at the thing that you're doing to train you is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Because if Tom Brady needed to find a better quarterback than him to train him, he would never train.
Yeah.
I think people are caught in this idea that, you have to be better than them to train the thing that they're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We don't need that. Our guys are really good. So your guys don't train. So, I think that just ties in kind of the whole training element of you can never be too good to train, And I think the training and your development has to be just an ongoing growth kind of journey individually and as an organization, Can you talk a little about some of the, training initiatives that you've had over the years?
Yeah. I mean, I think a big thing I have always been a fan of is kind of on the fly feedback, like stepping back from a situation that didn't go well or is going well and saying, what can I learn from it? A huge thing for realtors, at least in the real estate space, is to be able to break into something takes time and takes goal. And I feel like people are aimless in our industry. So a lot of the agents that I've seen be successful on teams I've worked on, it's saying, where do you want to go? How do you want to get there? Training wise, some of the things that I think are important is developing your own personal brand and how you say what you're going to say. I've done a lot of training I had a certification with Story Brand, which is with Donald Miller, to help companies and individuals alike kind of nail down their own story and to be able to use that for their sales tactics. So as opposed to saying, what do you do for a living? I do mortgages. I can say, well, how it can be really stressful to think through either refinancing or getting pre-approved, buying a house. So I have a simple process to walk you through that. So at the end of the day, you'll be confident your rate was good. You'll know that you didn't get ripped off and that you'll end up with a better rate or the house of your dreams. So like helping people develop a craft the way that they present their story, I think is a huge thing. Sales training wise, I'm a big proponent of people listening to podcasts, reading books on topics that stretch them. So if it's goal setting is a problem for you, read something good on goal setting and put it into, don't just read it, put it into practice. Take like the 5 things that they're saying to do and do them for a month and see if they work. I feel like everybody sets these goals and does trainings and it's like a week of trying it. They don't see any results and they quit.
Oh yeah.
Sales 6 months from now in our business are the ones that we're working on right now. I don't know what the sales cycle is like for every industry, but I know that I'm not working on July's business right now. I'm working on December, January's business right now. So I think that in an industry though, like real estate and mortgage, it does feel like a little more of like a free agency. Like I'm on my own, I'm on an island type thing. So there's not necessarily like training that I suggest other than like get training, get a coach.
Other than us.
Get a coach, like get somebody that is holding you accountable because ultimately it's so hard to lose focus. Hey, I've got 5 deals going on right now that need to close in the next 3 weeks. What are the problems I have to deal with those? If you're only focused on that, you don't have you're not planting any seeds for the next harvest. That to me is the biggest thing. But I think like I mentioned with Story Brand, so many people don't know how to put themselves in a position where their customer is the hero of the story, where it's about them. Like, I'm not here to do more. I'm not the best mortgage person in the entire world. That's not how I position myself. I'm a mortgage person that can make this process as easy as possible, as low stress as possible, with as little surprises as possible for you. You know, that's
Right.
being able to position it so when I talk, I'm talking about them, not about. I could give you my resume and nobody gives a shit. You know, nobody cares about accolades. You know, yeah, you want to know the person you're working with has experience. As long as you know they have experience, that's about as much as most people want to know. Like, do you know what you're doing? Yes. Let me prove that to you. Here's my authority. Here's the reason I have some authority in this. A lot of people just rattle on. I can't tell you how annoyed I am by those billboards from realtors where it's top 1% of this, top, like, sold $1 billion of houses. Well, if you sold $1 billion of houses, you don't give a shit about money. That's what I see when I see that. Like,
Yeah,
make it
no,
about
I like, yeah, and it really comes back to that empathy thing also. Again, you know, I love stories, and not how you're thinking of stories per se. I mean, you're onto something with that, but I did do a training, and I said I want all of the salespeople on the first day to come prepared with their story, right? And so we opened it up, and you know, and I told my story. They didn't know I was telling my story. You know, I was telling them my story as a person, as a business leader, as a sales executive that worked in corporate America for 20 years. You know, and then I said, all right, we're going to work on the stories now. And you know, when I'm telling my story, I tend to get people, you know, I tug on heartstrings, I move people, I try to get people emotionally engaged, and I try to draw them in.
Yeah.
And that's a story of my life, where I came from, where I was, how I evolved into the thing I'm doing, and where I'm going, and that's my story. So then we had them, you know, start up, and okay, who wants to go first? No one wants to go, and you know, so the first guy gave his story, and he pulled up a PowerPoint, and he's taking us through all his company's products and services, and that's his story. Right? And then the next guy did a better presentation, but with all his products and services and what they do, you know, and it was really this immediately disconnect. Like, they didn't know the assignment.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell them really what the assignment was,
Yeah.
but I wanted to bring it back to how can you emotionally connect with your customer, right? And be proud of who you are and your individual story as a salesperson coming in, and now you're working for this company. But these are powerful moments in sales conversations when you're being vulnerable, telling your story and your evolution throughout the years to how you are now and why you work for this company. You know, why am I working for, you know, Homeshare Lending, right? As an employee, one of your employees, right? And it really would align with their values from their story. And it really comes down to you're really trying to be empathetic with the customer and align with their values, and then connect with them on the same level as an empathetic leader and speaker and problem solver and problem finder. So now we're going to look for problems that you have, and we're going to start building and solving challenges in your space. And so that allows that's a differentiator right out of the gate when you can tell a powerful and effective story of growth in your life into their space.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of, I loved how you talked about telling stories. You know, it's really impactful, and that's been a huge differentiator right out of the gate for years that I've practiced, of really aligning with those organizations on a value, mission, and vision level. This is why research into your companies and organizations you're selling into is so important.
Yeah.
You need to know what makes them tick, the values they have,
Yeah.
the goals they have, their mission, their value, or their vision. You look at their numbers, look at their their data online, look at their 10K if they're, you know, a public company. You do the research. Now you can go in and tell your story and relate it to the pains and struggles they're having. This is how, and be authentic about it.
Yeah.
And then
Absolutely.
and this is how you sell using an empathetic expertise and educational approach into those customers. If you do that, you will be light years ahead of your competitor.
Yeah.
The guys that come in and pull up their product, and this is what it costs. No one wants to do business with that.
No.
Right. And so this is how you build in true partnerships and relationships with organizations, with people. Take it to the micro level, you know, in lending.
Yeah.
You know, there are ways you can figure out and do research about your prospects and clients going into these meetings, you know, and be able to relate with them on a different level.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
there's just
absolutely.
a lot of different ways to look at it, but this is one way we found that is very effective in many different markets, verticals, spaces, is really leading with expertise, leading with your expertise and telling your story into that customers and relating it with their vision, mission, core values, all that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I think that there's so much of sales. It's getting somebody on the yes train, getting somebody's commitment and buy-in. There's so much of that feels inauthentic to a salesperson. You know, there's so much of it that feels, to me, if somebody's trying to sell me something, you know, I can spot the salesperson and the tactics. And I think that that's a refreshing thing in my business that I think people don't feel like I'm trying to sell them something, because ultimately I'm trying to provide a service that I think is going to benefit them, and I'm going to give them the reasons I think it's going to benefit them. But
sure.
At the end of the day, I'm also not putting pressure on myself for that one sale. Like, if I don't get them, I'm on to the next, you know, like, and I don't lose it because I didn't give my best effort. I don't lose it. I just lose it for the, you know, somebody else gave them a better rate. So that's really, like, for me, it's easier to let go of the ones that I lose, because I know that the ones that I do get, I'm going to provide the level of service that I promised.
What's your close rate?
Pretty high. Yeah.
High 50s? Talking 50s, 30s, 50s, 70? Or
70s.
Wow.
Yeah. But I mean, a lot of my business is, at this point in my career, is referrals and past clients.
Traditionally, that close ratio in mortgage in lending is pretty high.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking 30 to 50.
Yeah, I think, but I mean,
as opposed to other traditional sales environments.
Yeah, I think it depends on the source too. You know, if you're working with just like online internet leads who don't know who you are, I'm not going to do really well with those. I don't have a call center base where they're going to get followed up with 74 times before.
Oh my God. Man, I looked into, bad mistake, by the way. I filled out a form to do a HELOC.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That was 6 months ago. I still have people calling me.
Yeah.
Like nonstop. Like, you know.
Well, there are these like trigger leads too, where if somebody has a mortgage, at some point you sign a paper when you got a mortgage that your credit can be monitored. But that monitoring really means that they're going to sell your information when you get your credit pulled next time. So, you know, if you ever do go to refinance or whatever, make sure you get opted out of that, because you literally get 100 calls in the first 7 minutes.
Oh yeah.
People. I just don't buy leads like that. I don't buy leads like that because it's like garbage in, garbage out. I'd rather invest in relationship type building business activities than getting a bunch of people who call me who don't want me to be calling them. You know, I spend time on developing avenues of business that are relational from the start.
There are some really good technologies out there talking about, you know, leveraging technology in sales and sales enablement. And I have a really complex kind of marketing tech stack, and I probably pay way too much money for it, but that's aside the point. But I do have some channels in my marketing tech stack that are very reliable. It's unbelievable. So I'm getting leads coming in that are like high 80s, 90s with buying intent, you know, and then they're meeting like next week, you know, like they're scheduling meetings with me. I don't even touch them until the meeting is scheduled, and then I meet with them.
Yeah.
And and everything looks as it appears that it comes from me, so it's not spammy.
Yeah.
It looks very authentic. I control all the messaging, and it's an automated system as well.
Yeah.
But everything coming through is very high intent.
Yeah.
They're looking to purchase sales training.
Yeah.
That's the thing with my business is I have to sell and I have to train.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're selling with the methodologies that we train, which is interesting. So when I'm selling sales training, my customers are looking at how my process is going. And I close these deals. I mean, that's what we do, is we close deals. And then we train in the fashion that we close their deal. Like we're using our own methodologies, obviously, right? Because it works.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. I sold for a lot of years, and I've been in thousands of hours of training, and I've been certified in many different areas to be able to train in different methodologies throughout the years. And I've been to so many sales training seminars, and I've had speaker engagements, and I've done seminars on sales and sales training, and and it's really interesting how my career has evolved. But I really love selling, and that's not a dirty word over here at Innovative Selling Partners. Like we don't use shady tactics. We look at it as sales is helping.
Yeah.
And so if we are able to help you, we want to show you how we can do that.
You believe in what you're selling. I mean, I said that earlier. Like if I believe in the thing I'm selling you, I mean, I'll sell, we both have Apple computers, when I don't think Apple's as awesome as it was 15 years ago. Like I think that 15 or 20 years ago, it's really revolutionary. Like I thought a Mac was light years ahead. I thought their products were light years ahead. So I would talk everybody that I knew into using a Mac computer because I just believed that it was that much better. Like I didn't realize how much my life, because I like this, that I could influence other people liking it too. And ultimately, if I enjoy something, I'm going to tell my friends about it, and I'm going to be persuasive. And so I think the way I look at sales is if I do believe in what I'm selling, if I do believe in what I'm offering, some of that imposter syndrome, like I don't deal with that type of stuff if I believe in it. If I don't if I feel like I'm not providing the level of service or like I'm slacking or not doing well, I feel my sales energy going down. So if you felt like you weren't giving good value on your sales training, you'd probably not be closing at a high of rate as you are. You'd probably not be doing a good job on those sales calls because you wouldn't be believing in what you're selling. So
oh my God.
Me, it's the same. I'm selling a service to work with me. I'm not selling something they buy and then move on to another department. I'm selling, you're working with me on this. And so I know I have to deliver at a high rate, and I know I have to be doing a good job.
Execute.
Yep. I know I have to be executing or I'm not going to be. And so I think there are those gut checks sometimes where it's like, hey, am I the best option? If I believe that, then I'm going to sell that a lot more effectively and with a lot more conviction.
Yeah, we've done a lot of work in the last year of building this business. And, I was able to pull some research on the biggest challenges companies are struggling with sales training. And so we're filling all of those gaps. So these companies, we're going up against big sales training firms, and we're winning deals against them because they can't solve for the things we solve for. And a lot of this really has to do with ongoing, consistent engagement with the teams.
Yeah.
And like you said, here's your sales training. It's a, 2-day, 2-day training session. Yeah. Here it is. It's a canned training. Hope it works. Good luck. See you later.
Yeah.
See you next time you want to buy another sales training.
Yeah.
And so we've kind of revolutionized it in the way where we have in-person first, but then we have weekly engagement, consistent ongoing engagement. And what that has kind of evolved into is us helping actually pull up deals that companies are struggling with, and we put it on the table for the team, and we're dissecting that deal. What did we miss in the beginning based on our sales methodologies and training from the actual training? And then we're dissecting those deals and saying, what did we miss up in the front part? Okay, we're late stages in the game, but now we got to go back and fix some of these problems that got overlooked based on, you know, you guys not knowing that these things needed to be done. These checkboxes needed to be checked. These check boxes needed to be checked off.
Yeah.
You know, and one big thing we've had the success with is mapping, you know, the sales process and getting sign off with the prospect.
Yeah.
And so we built, you know, mutual action plans, maps, where we take it from the very first point of contact all the way through closing and everything that would have to happen in between. Right. And then we're saying, does this look in line with your sales process? Because we want to respect your buying timeline, and then getting customer sign off on this looks good.
Yeah.
You know, so by this day, we should be closing. And then as we're going through this, we see that we're missing things. Okay, this guy canceled this call and it never got rescheduled. What happened? You know, we're doing post-mortem on every step throughout the entire sales process. And so now we're able to kind of go back and then put like psychological methodologies into play too, customer facing.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to teach empathy, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm 48 years old. So I've had a whole life of, you know, pain and fear and anxiety and success. And, you know, I've been broke. I've had tons of money, you know, and so I've had this whole life. And a lot of guys I train are 25, 26. They don't have that life. So to train the stuff that we know psychologically, mentally, emotionally into a 25-year-old that hasn't had that experience can be difficult.
Yeah.
You know, but sometimes you got to, you know, as a 25-year-old selling, you know, kind of fake it until you make it.
Yeah.
And start practicing these things as you go. But it's been a great conversation.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I'd like to ask, Matt, is you wear a lot of hats. You run businesses. You're really successful. You're a leader, business leader in the Metro Detroit area. You're a business leader up north. You do a lot of great things. What do you do to unwind? You know, I know you wear a lot. I know you're a traveling guy, but what do you tell us? We could do another podcast, honestly. You didn't tell us anything about your family.
Yeah.
Which is, tell us a little about your family, and then how, even with that.
Yeah.
That's wild
Yeah.
stuff. Like,
Lots of kids.
Big family.
Lots of kids. I have 5. My wife has 2. You know, we like hanging out around the house, like playing cards with the kids, like hanging out in the backyard. We get a pool. I love music, live music, going to concerts. It's probably my favorite thing is outdoor concerts in the summer. I'm a golfer, but I don't get to play as much as I'd like. So I'm one of those where I've learned to enjoy golf because I know I have realistic expectations, you know, like I think with any hobby, if it involves competition, you have to know I'm not as good as the 79 that I, you know, shot 2 years ago. I'm not as bad as the 99 that I shot 2 weeks ago. I have to go out there and just know this is a hobby, but I love being outside in our state in the with traveling. Love going places. Those are my unwind things day to day. Just kind of a homebody day to day. You know, I think my days of going out and spending late nights out are sort of behind me at this point in my mid 40s. You know, it's like just like enjoying my family.
I was thinking like meditation.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about any of that.
Yeah. Unwind, man.
So you just got back from Louisiana.
Yeah, went to a few days, real whirlwind trip to New Orleans, which was fun. But travel's a big thing. I'm not
to Puerto Rico. Man.
Yeah, Puerto Rico's a great place. Spent a bunch of time there.
That's the hot spot right now.
Yeah, it's awesome. No, but it's been fun. I'm really glad for the opportunity. I think the biggest thing is I think the things that are successful in my life are the ones that I'm passionate about. So if I find myself no longer passionate about a business or something that I'm doing, I know that's taking energy away from the things that, you know, like the money follows. If I'm passionate, I've been able to get things off the ground. If I lose passion for it, it's time to hand over the reins. You know, that's sort of my business philosophy. I know I can get a plane up to cruising altitude, but I know I'm not the best pilot wants to do cruising altitude. I get bored.
Yeah.
So I'm always off to the next thing. You know, I'm always looking for the next idea, the next thing to get off the ground. And then I'll probably get bored with that one and be on to the serial entrepreneur type thing, you know.
Come work for me. You never know. No, I'm kidding. Well, so that's the lesson today, folks, is stay passionate, keep selling, and get innovative. So we will talk to you all soon. Thank you so much. Everyone have a safe 4th of July. Thanks again, Matt Demarest. Thanks again, Matt Demarest. And good luck with your adventures.
Thanks,
And
man.
we'll talk soon.
Yeah,
Thank
you
so
too.
much.
Thanks.
Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye.